I'm Mike Begg, one of the co-founders of AMZ Advisors. And today I have two guests with me, and we're going to be talking about common mistakes Amazon sellers make on the Walmart platform. So I want to welcome my two guests here. We have Pauline Chu from Zentail, and we have Ted Fagliani from SHIPCALM. Pauline, why don't you just start, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Zentail and what you do for your clients.
Sure, Mike. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today, by the way. Exactly, yes. So, hi, everyone. I am Pauline with Zentail. Real quickly here, just to show a little bit about who we are. We are the preferred listing. Oh, here we go. We're the preferred listing automation platform for growing multi-channel sellers. What our belief is really founded on is that everything starts with a strong quality listing, and so our SaaS platform is built on that translation of data between the marketplaces, Amazon to Walmart to Shopify to eBay to Wish, however. It's all founded on the requirements and helping to save sellers time. So we like to say that we put the Zen in retail. We have processed over 2 billion in GMV, and we're in the business of growing your business.
Awesome. That sounds like it's very helpful. Ted, why don't you give us a little background on ShipCalm, what you guys do?
Sure, Mike. Yeah, really great to be here. ShipCalm started a few years back. We are a e-commerce focused 3PL. So we're here to store and ship our customers' products out. We launched as a D2C specialist. We didn't do Amazon when we started. We sort of cut our teeth on, getting product to people's homes. Last few years, we've surely added on Amazon, and it's about half our business now is to Amazon, half is to consumers. So we've got a good experience across all the channels and know the pains that customers go through. And, our mission is to make our customers more successful, and we succeed a lot in doing that. And we also struggle with the same things that our customers struggle with. And we'll surely talk through some of that today. And, but our team here in our couple warehouses is really just to help our customers get product out to their customers in the way that they want it, with the user experience they want to deliver.
Okay, great. Thank you for the background on yourself, Ted, and your company. And just to give the audience a little background on us, a little bit more, if you're not familiar with AMZ Advisors, we're one of the leading Amazon marketing agencies. However, we do focus on other platforms, one of them being Walmart, which we're going to be talking about today. We've been around since 2015, and during that time, we've managed over $500 million in sales on the Amazon platform specifically. So we're really excited to share all of our knowledge with you today. And to kind of jump into it, we're obviously familiar with Amazon as the largest e-commerce platform out there right now. And that's the platform that most sellers pay attention when they're getting into the e-commerce space. But Walmart's a pretty significant platform as well. And there is a lot of sales volume there. There's a lot of opportunities for sellers. So in your guys' opinion, what do you think the Walmart marketplace, how significant is it within the e-commerce space, and how much attention should sellers be paying to it? Pauline, why don't you start?
Yeah, great question. So Walmart has really grown in the past couple of years. I know that, with COVID, sure, everyone said that e-commerce has grown 30-40%. It's really, catapulted against the trend. More than any others, I would say Walmart is on the rise. A lot of that does have to do with grocery, but still their tried and true marketplace has seen a lot of growth, both with the number of sellers, but also, traffic, transactions, etc. That being said, it's a really interesting time, because while it is really growing, there's still a lot of blue ocean, right? I think we all know that it is a percent of Amazon. With all due respect to all of our friends and partners out there at Walmart, they know that they are, trying to carve out their own space and niche, if you will, within the e-commerce world. But there's a lot of growth to be had for the early movers, and that time is still now.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think getting into the platforms earlier is always a good start. But Ted, maybe you can give us some more insight into how you've seen maybe sales trends changing for a lot of your clients with more volume coming from Amazon and fulfilling more, from Walmart and fulfilling more orders from there.
Yeah, no, you mentioned the key word, which I think is opportunity. I mean, Walmart is a really great opportunity for brands to expand out to. They're working hard. They've got a lot of money to throw at becoming a player, and there's a ton of opportunity there. We've learned a lot of things in the last year. I mean, even say maybe a year and a half, because COVID impacted a lot of big brands before March of last year, supply chain was really strained prior to that. And, I believe that the brands learned that having multiple channels is really important. And to include Walmart in that multi-channel solution is a really good thing. Like, they have a lot of users, they have a lot of buyers that they can get traffic to. And so we've just seen people taking advantage of the opportunity, and it's really easy to add it. There's no great big secret to Walmart. They are Amazon-ish, they are D2C-ish, they are eBay-ish. Like, they're playing the same game. I personally feel they have a ton of users that they're going to bring in to people. So I think the theme of getting in early, which is kind of now, or maybe a few months ago, but it is still early for them. But I think it's a really important part of a brand that wants to have a real national, international presence. You can't just do Amazon. And again, we all love Amazon. All of us on this call and all the people listening, we really all love Amazon. But it's not the only channel people should be addressing. And we've seen a lot of people adding it on in the last year or so.
Yeah, Ted, if I may, I think there's a lot of truth in what you said. Definitely, we agree. We all believe here in multi-channel. If I may, the one piece, we find that Walmart is very different than Amazon. Yes, I think you can apply the same theories across, like SEO will be important, right? Advertising is going to be important. The right fulfillment is important, all of that. But how it's done on the seller front is very different.
Yeah, I mean, remember, I'm the guy at the bottom of the food chain here, right? I do the easy stuff. So for me, it's very similar. I think you're absolutely right. The other parts of it, which are more complicated, I think, you're two experts on the marketing and the sales and the setup. From a distribution standpoint, I should have said that differently. From a distribution standpoint, it can be very similar in my little area of the world.
Yeah, definitely don't sell yourself short, because dealing with order fulfillment is very complicated.
That's true. That is true. It's supposed to be simple, but you're right. There are pieces of it that are different. And I think their rules are different and their setups are different. And I get all that. I think it's I had notes to myself with it, but it's not overly complicated, right? I think it can be simplified with the right team around you and the right people supporting you to engage with Walmart who have done it before. I think that's helped to get partners who have been through the process a few times.
For sure. I think it always helps having experienced partners that know what they're doing, and really makes transition processes a lot smoother. And, just kind of talking about getting started, getting onto the platform, Pauline, maybe you could tell us more about how that process actually works and what sellers should actually do to start making sure their accounts are set up properly to start selling on the platform. Yeah.
First and foremost, I think one of the biggest things that will be important to sellers, Ted will be happy to see this. We believe that fulfillment really is key for sellers, especially those that are going Amazon to Walmart, right? A large majority of Amazon sellers are FBA. And so, as we all know, that's a big no-no when you go to Walmart. You can get kicked off the platform. There's a lot of just penalty involved there. So do yourself a favor, talk to Ted, don't do FBA, and figure out how you're going to meet those 2-day or like really high SLAs for delivery. Kind of going down the checklist is really kind of going backwards in terms of what what's important in terms of the customer experience. But next is inventory. So again, it won't be an FBA. You're going to have to most likely manage your own inventory, whether that is through your own warehouse or through a 3PL. Especially if you are multi-channel, you're going to have to keep that in sync to know that you had 100 sweaters, you sold 5 on Amazon, you sold 12 on Walmart, deduct 17, right? Keeping everyone in queue. Paying attention to your ODR, your order defect rate, is really important on Walmart. Similar to Amazon, right? We talked about earlier, there are similar philosophies and practices, but different when you execute. The customer experience is just as important on Walmart, and making sure that you send the right thing on time is really important. So making sure that your inventory is queued up, that you can actually have something to send, that you're not back ordered, is key. You're sending the right thing and again on time. The other thing to consider is, what will your Walmart catalog look like? A lot of sellers think they can just say, I have 100 SKUs, I'm just going to copy and paste them onto Walmart and have those same 100 SKUs. And, candidly, we don't see that working. It's a different audience. It's a different marketplace. Again, sorry to go back to this bag of tricks, but it's not FBA, right? So if you have products that are hotcakes on Amazon because of Prime, that makes sense. That's not going to be the experience on Walmart. And so you really need to figure out what are the key trending products on Walmart. And it can take time. We get that, right? Or at least we hope that sellers know that. Give yourself time to truly, if you will, A/B test your catalog. If you have a centralized data platform like Zentail that has your product data and your inventory all in one, it's not that hard to toggle your listings over, right? But even if you're doing it manually or through another platform provider, you can see what's working better across your channels. Last but not least, it really goes back to this whole copy paste, theory for multi-channel, in that Amazon is not set up the same way as Walmart, right? They have different taxonomies, different listing requirements, different attributes. What else? Even going back to listing quality and SEO, Amazon has significantly more character allowance for titles than Walmart. And so when you think about how to get eyeballs on your listings, you need to be very specific with Walmart. But you can add, some buzzwords, some keywords into your titles in Amazon, and that'll work. That'll be a winning strategy. That listing quality piece is really a lot of what we see being a successful path for sellers here at Zentail. The better your listings, you get better, eyeballs, better rankings in search results, more sales, better customer experience with the inventory piece that we talked about. If they're getting the right thing, you'll have fewer returns as a seller. You will get more 5-star reviews, and then this whole flywheel starts over and over again. And that's really, how our sellers are seeing the benefit. Sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think when it comes to the actual sales side, making sure your listing is set up properly is extremely important. SEO is pretty much the fundamental way to start selling on the Walmart platform. And if your content isn't set up the right way, if you're not getting reviews, if you're not getting that customer feedback, you're going to have issues on the advertising side. And I will definitely go into that in a little bit more detail soon. But one thing we talked about there was, the order fulfillment side and actually getting the products to the customers. Ted, what are the different options that Walmart sellers have to get the product to the end customer? There's a lot of different talks about different shipping times and things like that. When we think about Amazon, it's one day, or in some cases even same day. How does Walmart compete with that, and what is Walmart doing on the order fulfillment option?
Yeah, it's it's been a tricky year for a lot of reasons, but I think it still exists today. For a while, people were trading availability for lead time, like if they could just get it. When stock was shrinking, and they were surely trading availability for 2-day delivery. But even as that was happening, Amazon's pushing and pushing for like 2-hour delivery. So you had a really weird situation in the market. Was like Prime really wasn't Prime all the time, even though they did. I thought Amazon did a great job during all these challenges. But I still believe people will trade availability and meeting a commitment. So even if it's 3-day, 4-day, 2-day, and it's really hard with Walmart unless you have a very large 3PL or a really large distribution channel to do 2-day. Like most of us 3PLs have like 90% coverage, maybe 90% coverage on our own for 2-day. It's hard to get a 3PL that's got 100% coverage, which makes it hard. But maybe it's okay at 3-day. And I think Walmart doesn't stress the 2-day. They're starting to a little bit. But I think the market right now is really still happy to get availability, have a good product selection, it's coming. Do you really need that sweater in 2 days? Do you really need that sweater in 1 hour? I don't know. My contention is that hitting a 2 to 3 day lead time is probably okay, which is very easy with Walmart to do that. But the market's going in towards an hour. They're going towards getting distribution centers and population centers to be able to do that. So I think they're both happening. I still believe that a good product selection at a good price with a well-communicated message about lead time still helps conversion enough to compete with the 20-minute delivery to your front door.
Even within the conversation, it went from 2-day to 20-minute. That's very accurate for how Amazon is trending.
It's a challenge, because at the end of the day, Amazon is not the only place. Most brands are competing with their own store and Amazon, and their own stores aren't committing to 2-day, right? And I think
Very
most
true.
retailers have
Yeah.
we have a 2-day solution. We have a great 2-day rate with FedEx to get anything almost anywhere. We have a good distribution channel, as most good 3PLs have, to get 2-day to a big chunk of the country, surely to the big e-commerce users, which is this big U that we've got in the
Yeah.
country. So it's really pushing everybody, and freight rates aren't going down, so brands will lose margin to try to do it. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of levers pulling this in a lot of directions,
Yeah.
and Walmart's going to solve that. Walmart, fulfilling on Walmart and shipping for Walmart will get better, just like Amazon continues to get better. They're just a little bit behind on that infrastructure to do it.
Yeah. So three things that come to mind, Ted. One is that, yeah, absolutely, this 2-day, 3-day will really help a seller achieve that pro seller status, which again, right, like Walmart's algorithm, yada yada, that'll help on the listings front. The other thing you mentioned about 2-day and 3-day, like SLAs, now that they're pushing out shipping templates, that should help sellers and 3PL partners and software service providers to understand who is shipping what, when, where, how, all of it, right? So I think that, again, it's going back to somewhat of the Amazon model for kind of simplifying the process. That's been a big update that happened like late Q4 our time, not Q4 Walmart time. They're a month behind. And then the other thing you mentioned was the infrastructure. So I would say one of the biggest differences between the two are really the brick and mortar piece, right? That being said, Amazon's now kind of making a foray into the physical space, but being able to fulfill from Walmart stores is going to be a big difference. Buy online, pick up in store, return to store, all of that. I feel like that is one of the areas where Walmart could really get ahead and focus on if they wanted to. Haven't seen it quite yet, but I'm excited to see what's in store.
Yeah, no, some of our bigger brands are selling product within Walmart. Like we actually ship to the distribution center for Walmart. That's a piece of the puzzle. Those are the ones who are the most successful on Walmart, on Walmart.com, let's say. But that's your bigger, growing, more aggressive brands. We're like, I got to get into Walmart. Once I'm in Walmart, oh my gosh, Walmart D2C, Walmart at the store, Amazon, and my own D2C store. Just don't mess too much with your pricing and market globally, or wherever, market across all of them. That's a really good strategy. It's just, getting into Walmart has always been hard to do, into the stores.
Yeah, into a physical store. Yeah, that's always a challenge. And I think both of you brought up two really interesting aspects there when we're talking about the cost, the margin, your pricing. Obviously, if you're offering faster and faster shipping, it's going to cut into your margin more. So, when we're talking about Amazon FBA, you have your FBA fees and you're kind of used to that. If you're dealing with meeting the 2-3 day shipping, whatever it may be, that's going to be a different cost. I think it largely depends on who your shipping carrier is, doesn't it, Ted?
Yeah, and your weight, right? I know there's very different cost structures, below a pound and over a pound. Below a pound, we can all compete with Amazon. It's USPS first class, and that price is so beaten down, it almost barely makes financial sense. You wonder how they can do it, right? Once you get over a pound, it's really your relationship with either yours on your own or with the right shipping partner, leveraging their shipping rates, right? The bigger the 3PL, potentially the bigger their discounts are, and really understanding how to leverage your fulfillment partner to use their discounts. And I have very large discounts. We share them. ShipBob has very large discounts. They share them-ish. ShipMonk, all the big 3PLs have discounts. And that's actually more important to look at than what I charge you for fulfillment. Like my fulfillment fee is $1. Who cares? Like that, who cares? But that's not the issue. The freight's $4, $5, $6, $7. So that's where you get into this 20 minutes to 2 days, because it's really going to be the difference between $4.50 and $9.50 on shipping. And it's a big margin play. I think all three of us are so interested in our customers succeeding that we are all worried about the margins. And we meet a brand, and one of the first things I ask them is, how's your margin structure? They're like, oh, it's great. I'm making 50% gross margin. And I'm like, uh-oh, that may not be enough, because you've got freight and you've got fulfillment fees and you've got acquisition costs. So I think it is something really important to keep on the early analysis list of like, what is that freight going to cost? What are the fulfillment fees going to cost? And as great as shipping direct to consumer is, either from your own site or through Walmart, there's some other fees that have to make sure they make it onto the little piece of paper about how much money they're making.
For sure. I think underestimating the margin is a big issue that a lot of sellers don't actually take into consideration, whether they're on Amazon or Walmart or whatever platform it may be.
Yeah.
And the only alternative they kind of have there is adjusting their pricing, which depending on the category could have some issues, some big issues. And specifically managing pricing between platforms can be another big issue. And I know that a lot of at least Amazon sellers will run into issues having their pricing at a different price point on other platforms, cheaper, higher, whatever it may be. So, I mean, Pauline, how is everyone managing their pricing? How do you adapt to pricing changes as your margins and costs increase with faster shipping?
Yeah, great question. So the key thing that you said there is really assuming that folks know what their margins are. We are interestingly in a place where we will have conversations, and Ted, you would like freak out. Not all the sellers really know that, right? They just kind of like, yeah, we're profitable. Like, cool, like, let's talk about that more. But really getting into the nitty gritty of what is your profit margin, where is it going? I feel like also sometimes sellers aren't really factoring in everything into what their true profit margins are. So paying attention and being careful to dot those I's, cross those T's for your margin. That being said, running the reports constantly, how you kind of play the marketplace game. If there was a way to go off the record on a webinar, I would right now, but since we can't, I'm just going to put it out there and hope that no one rattles on me. Certain marketplaces really want to make sure that you have the lowest price on their channels. They're, candidly, they're keeping an eye out. They know who their multi-channel sellers are. They can very easily, as huge corporations, really monitor that pricing. If they see that you're not living up to, that pricing myth of that channel, they can kind of stall traffic to your listing. They can deactivate your listing, things like that. So how does a seller manage that? All I can say is that there's the manual route, and because we're servicing sellers who are in the like million plus range, the way Zentail sellers handle it is through really like a pricing management report. And so they're able to kind of see what their listings are, be able to make bulk edits and changes, also apply logic, right? Up or down percent changes to the various marketplaces, add rules, and then be able to just push everything out. Also from there, if we're talking Amazon and Walmart, there's a buy box. So playing into the repricers on each of these channels will be huge. Then it comes back to the, what are your margins? You can set the buy boxes with Zentail anyway to kind of factor that in, but it starts with knowing the right number.
Yeah, and I think you bring up another interesting point there is that if you have multiple resellers of your brand online, it makes it that much more difficult to manage your pricing and actually get control of your entire supply chain and online sales channels. We highly recommend, and we've been telling a lot more clients to do this, is to really focus on cutting out the middlemen, those resellers that are selling their product online, because they might be creating more issues for them by listing their products at different prices on different websites, especially with the Amazon platform, that they're even aware of. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration when they think about their traditional business models, which is sending it to a distributor. The distributor deals with the brick and mortar retailers, whoever it may be, and then kind of going that route. The e-commerce space is completely different when you think about how these platforms are competing against each other, how closely the data is shared between pricing, and how instantaneously that's all happening.
Yeah. Wait, Mike, so let's make things interesting. We talked about knowing your margins. Yeah. A lot of folks look at the true cost of goods sold. How does advertising play into that? That's one of the things where I feel like folks will leave that off, but that absolutely affects the sale, right? The price and the ROI.
Yeah, exactly. And that is probably one of the things that people forget to calculate the most, is what their advertising costs are, what their customer acquisition cost is, and what the customer lifetime value is going to be to them. Now, when we're talking about advertising and just growing on any sales channel in general, I think the chart that you actually put up before, Pauline, about that flywheel really explains it well. I mean, when you're starting with marketing, whether it be on Amazon or Walmart, the foundation is having the right content on your listing, having your listing looking good, having whatever badges it may be. One example would be, the pro seller badge. Another one could be a promotion badge in the Walmart platform. All of that's going to make your listing index better, and that's going to help the advertising improve. So when we're talking about how advertising factors into the actual bottom line margin, if we're comparing the two platforms, your ROAS might actually be better on the Walmart platform than what you'll see on the Amazon platform. So it may make more sense fiscally for your business because it may not be eating into your margin as much. But either way, you need to spend those dollars to really ignite that flywheel and kind of get it going. If you don't start it, if you don't advertise the right way, if you're not getting more sales velocity, is the way that we talk about it, you're not going to get that improvement in an organic rank. You're not going to get more visibility on the platform. It's not going to help you sell any better. But yeah,
and Walmart too, isn't it true that you need to have good standing organic and sales conversion history before you can even advertising, as opposed to Amazon? It's just like write a check and push those ads.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of intricacies to advertising on the Walmart platform. And I think one of the ones that most people don't realize is that you're actually limited on what you can advertise when you get to the platform. So if your product is not ranked within the top 128 results for the most relevant search term you're looking for, your customer is looking for, then you won't actually be able to run manual ads on the platform. I mean, you can still run automatic ads in some instances, but you really don't have as much control as the keywords you're targeting and really generating that sale. So that's one thing that I think a lot of sellers don't consider. And then the other one is obviously the actual auction for the keywords themselves. So when we think of Amazon, we are talking about a second price auction. So for example, if you bid $1, I bid 50 cents, you're only going to pay 51 cents to actually win that ad. On the Walmart platform, whatever you put as your bid, it's a first price auction. That's what you're going to pay. So if you bid $1 and I bid 50 cents, you're paying $1 no matter what. So when we're thinking about optimizing on the advertising side, you can be giving up a lot more margin from not setting your bids properly and not managing your bids properly in a first price auction to really see where that, inflection point is, where you get the best return on your advertising dollars. So I think that's another big issue, another big reason that a lot of sellers, just lose money on the Walmart platform when they really don't need to.
That's a huge difference. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That makes a big challenge. That makes a big change on how your advertising performs. And I think another aspect of it is just the advertising supply. I mean, when we look at Amazon, there's literally ads everywhere now. Like anywhere you look, you can find an ad. Walmart, the supply is more limited. You have an ad on the product detail page right below the buy box. You have a couple ads in the search grid as people are searching through the products. And then you have a couple ads in the carousel at the bottom. That's really it when it comes to advertising placement. So, the amount of supply that you have isn't as great. With that being said, you also don't have as much competition on the advertising side right now. So your CPCs are going to be lower and your bids are going to be a lot lower than they need to be on the Amazon platform to get that traffic. So this is another good instance of getting in there early or getting into the platform early and advertising sooner to really start gaining that visibility. I mean, I'm assuming in the future, Walmart is going to change that restriction that you need to be in the top 128 products to get advertising as the advertising platform becomes more valuable to them. But right now, as it stands, if you're in there and you're capturing a lot of these sales within whatever product category it is, you have a pretty big barrier to entry for other competitors to come in there and start stealing space by limiting the ad supply that they can get access to. And I think that's another big factor that they are not considering. So that's my little spiel on what I think about the advertising side. But to kind of bring us back to just talking about more of the holistic side, we talked about having partners that can help you get things done. With the Walmart side, I guess at least speaking from my experience on the Amazon side, we help our clients, we partner with our clients to get the best results for them. in your opinions, who do you think are the most important partners you can have to be successful on the Walmart platform?
Well, that's a loaded one. That's a good question. I don't know if they're different partners, to tell you the truth. I think as long as your partners have decided to be experts or to be helpful in both categories, which I think people are. I mean, I think people have realized, yeah, there's people that just focus on Amazon and they're probably pretty good at it. But I think the forward-looking companies and the forward-looking partners have said, I need to be multi-channel. And it's not even just Walmart. I think it's Amazon, it's Walmart, it's direct to consumer, and it's maybe even a little bit of retail, which, imagine that after all this e-commerce growth that we're talking about being a partner for retail. But I think they're all connected, and I think that you can have specialists, but I think your most prized partners are the ones that have opened up their internal resources to do it all. So I think that they're the same partners you have as long as they've decided that learning about Walmart, because it's also early and an opportunity for those partners as well. Like, you guys are digging into both. You're proactive. You know that you help your partners better if you can do both. And I think those are the ones that they should hunt down, the ones that have decided to be, we internally call it omni-channel. Be omni-channel. I think those are the ones that can really help the brands.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree there. I may be a little bit of a broken record here, but for Walmart specifically, I'm going back to fulfillment and then listings. Especially if you are intently a multi-channel seller, for those reasons you mentioned earlier, right? So on Amazon, you're selling a women's sweater size small. On Walmart, you could be selling apparel. This is not verbatim, guys, but just go with it. Apparel, female size X, right? And as you go in more marketplaces, you're gonna need to translate that data and the requirements across. And if you get it wrong, you're not gonna get your sales. If you try to put it through with an incorrect, input, data isn't pushing, attributes aren't firing, you're not coming in search results, that's going to be a huge deficit to your business. And so you got to be able to put it up quickly and accurately, and then also, again, fulfill on the right thing. If we're talking Amazon, I think what changes a little bit there is because they're a little bit more forgiving in their algorithm. Let's take that back to yourself. Because they're more, allow more characters, their search engine is more established, let's put it that way, you can kind of finagle your way through, still showing up on a listing, even if it's incorrect. We were passing around a meme the other day, and I wish I had it handy, but they meant to say that something was light gray, Gray, and instead the listing is showing up as light Gary, Gary.
How was that?
So, there are things like that that are happening all over, and obviously sales will, vary accordingly. But getting those things accurate is extremely important across the board. But I guess when I come back to the Amazon front, there are other agencies out there that help with like product identification, white labeling, yada yada. And I don't think we're quite there on Walmart yet.
Well, and again, you mentioned it earlier, and I could talk about it for 10 hours, but just to mention it, the inventory control across these channels, it's where SHIPCALM struggles the most. I mean, honestly, it's our biggest problem. It's been our biggest problem since day one. We are actually not a fulfillment company. We are an inventory management company, and we're not great at it. Like, we're not perfect at it. Now, I don't know if anybody is yet. I mean, you go across all these channels, they all have a different SKU, they all have a different description, they all have multiple aliases. You start to do bundles and kits, it becomes even more complicated. And like, full disclosure, it's our biggest weakness as a company. And, but customers leave ShipBob because they're struggling with inventory, and they leave SHIPCALM because we're struggling with inventory. It's like, you guys, stop moving around. Solve the inventory problems together, because the fulfilling is actually very easy. So I think there's an industry challenge that we're all solving. Zentail is solving it. We're solving it. We're all trying to put software around it. We're all trying to put controls around it. But you have multiple SKUs. You got an FBM, you got an FBA SKU, technically. You got a Walmart SKU, you got an eBay SKU, you got the direct-to-consumer SKU. Then you have someone that uses the description as a SKU. And you wonder why you're having inventory control problems. So again, I know I'm not supposed to talk about where SHIPCALM fails, but I think, as full disclosure for what brands should be looking to work through, it's their inventory control in their fulfillment partner, whether it's us or somebody else, because it is the biggest challenge. There's accounting issues that are involved. There's in-stock, out-of-stock challenges. And, and again, I'm sure the brands are all perfect, but they run a sale, which is part number X dash spring sale, and they don't tell anybody. Well, guess what? Inventory is going to be messed up. And it wasn't your 3PL's fault. It wasn't your marketing person's fault. It wasn't even Walmart's fault. So again, if there's a lesson from my failures, it's to make inventory control and to understand that inventory control is probably, well, it's surely the top 1 or 2 or 3 on the things that can go wrong across multi-channel. In my world, it's top 1, right? In marketing and sales and what you guys do, maybe it's not 1, but for my world, it's top 1. And I think it only gets more complicated when you go international. It only gets more complicated when you go to Canada. It only gets more complicated when you add FBM, which everybody should, because Walmart's going to, Amazon's going to continue to change what inventory they let in. And then Walmart's going to change what inventory they're going to sell. So again, it's managing SKUs across multiple channels with aliases and sale items and knowing what's in stock or out of stock in order to sell. It's the one thing that keeps me up at night. It's the one reason that people leave us as customers. And it's the one reason that people come to me from other 3PLs. And it's not always the 3PL's fault.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. One little tip we give to our sellers is to always buffer your inventory. So let's go back to that 100 sweaters example. Tell the marketplaces you have 85, right? So in the, in that holy moment when you essentially oversold, you're really just dipping into that buffer inventory as opposed to going negative.
Yeah, it's if I was your customer, I would listen to you, right? But that's inventory, right? And depending on the vision of this business that you're talking about, those 15 units, take a low volume, high dollar, apparel company. 15 units could be $1,000 of revenue, and they're not going to buffer. I don't think they're going to buffer it. They might buffer 2, right? And in a great world, we try to run, our shipping quality is at 99.98. So like really, really solid. Our inventory control is not that high. Factories are not perfect. Like every brand I have, especially in apparel, says my factory's perfect. And then I show them a picture of a blue t-shirt and a black labeled product, right? So I think that part it's that buffering. I love it. We tell our customers the same thing. They just don't do it.
Yeah.
Great idea.
I think one of the things I'm hearing from both of you here, and I think all the listeners really need to pay attention to it as well, is the complexity of managing all these different channels and managing your inventory, managing your listing quality, all of that across these different platforms. And we have a lot of questions that the listeners submitted ahead of time, but there's one last question that I did want to ask, and I have my opinion on it. When we're talking about being an Amazon seller and expanding to new sales channels, how do you prioritize which channels you want to go to first? For me, I think Walmart is a great place to go right after you started building out your Amazon presence, just because it's one of pretty much the second largest platform out there. I don't know, Pauline, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you kind of go, I think, 2 ways. One is, right, you're talking about Walmart, you're talking eBay, opening up a web store. A lot of Amazon sellers don't have their own BigCommerce, Shopify, what have you. That's another route. If you want to bring it back to margins, you're going to be way more profitable selling on your own web store, right, guys? So expand to a web store, expand to Walmart, eBay, Google, Target's popping up, Neweg's popping up. As you evaluate those, I would really consider what is the expected value you're going to get out of it. Again, we all agree that Amazon is kind of the kingpin here. Everyone else will be a part of the pie. And I guess when we talk to sellers, they're always really nervous about, well, I have 40 hours in a week. Let's pretend 40 hours. I have 40 hours. I want to spend 37 on Amazon and 3 on other channels and still make millions, right? We're like, yes, gotcha. Like, we're going to do that. But not everyone is fortunate enough to use, software. And so if you're going the manual route, really understand why each marketplace is good for you. You're not going to be successful on whatever Wayfair, right? If you're not selling home categories, or if you're selling 1 or 2 SKUs, pick one that you can really invest your time in to understand. Each platform, like we've talked about, is set up very differently. And so if you want to spend those 3 hours, make sure they're 3 hours well spent. If you're on Zentail, candidly, you can expand to all the channels in a click. And so that's really where our sellers see the value, is being able to manage their catalogs essentially and be able to manage all of their channels once we have the product data the same way. Because Zentail understands those differences, they just really need to know how to handle Zentail, and then they can manage their business differently. Path 2 is going international, right? If you've got Amazon down, you want to stick to Amazon, go to Canada, go to Europe, go to the other international marketplaces. That's a whole other ballgame, but I think you're going to go one of those 2 paths. 3 maybe, if you want to count the web store.
Okay. Ted, in your opinion, what do you think the next platform that sellers should consider expanding to is?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of throw the D2C in there. I think that's good to have alongside of Amazon anyway. I mean, I think you just can't, you got to be careful with the pricing structures that you mentioned earlier. And I'm a pretty big fan of Walmart. I like having Amazon and Walmart at the same time. And once you're doing those two, kind of adding on eBay or even a Target, you know, integrating with those is pretty simple. So again, I would probably put D2C maybe right alongside of either Amazon or Walmart, whichever one you do first, and then add the other one. I mean, the more eyeballs, the better. You need to have a strategy for how to market, because they're very different marketing plans. So as long as your marketing team is aware of that and kind of tracking your acquisition cost on Amazon versus your acquisition cost on Walmart versus potentially your acquisition cost on your direct to consumer stuff. I'm just a fan of get it out to a lot of multi-channels, get it out to a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
You know, you may even have different economics on both of them, but it doesn't mean someone didn't find it on Walmart and went to buy it on Amazon. Like we've all tracked the meta tags and all that fun stuff, if they even use that term anymore, because I'm an old guy, but like getting that connection through, you don't know where they're going to buy it. We all know that people look on your own store, on your D2C store, they somehow got there and they go buy it on Amazon. So to think that someone's not going to find it on Walmart and then say, well, I'm really much more comfortable buying it on Amazon or the other way around. I just think having it accessible to all those audiences is a good thing. And personally, the sooner the better, like to get on multi-channels. But, you know, Amazon's done really well for a lot of people. They just got to recognize. I mean, I have a lot of customers that, you know, have a big peak on Amazon and then it starts to waver for a lot of reasons, which we won't have to get into. But so I just like having more access to eyeballs.
That's another webinar. I have a question, if you don't mind, Mike. So I think that going from Amazon to Walmart, again, has its difficulties, but kind of the same game with the marketplace. Ted, how is it for a D2C seller to start a marketplaces for the first time? I feel like it's just a fundamental shift totally in their mindset, their workflows, everything. How do you find that is for a D2C seller?
Yeah, so they're going to add on Walmart or they're going to add on Amazon. Yeah. It's a harder mental process than it is to go the other way. Like I think that brands often struggle with the margin analysis. They're like, Amazon makes what?
Right.
Oh, their freight's what? And what's a chargeback? I've never heard of a chargeback. What's that? Well, you better learn what a chargeback is because you're going to get some. So I think it's a harder process for them to go the other way. And I think a lot of them actually stall out. They sort of think it's great. And then they get their first monthly analysis and they're like, what is this? Right. So I think it's harder. I'm not saying people shouldn't do it, but I think the mental appetite and the way they need to rely on people who have done it before is different than going the other way. You can find someone to help you go D2C. Shopify is not that complicated. There's a lot of people that know how to do it. It's not very expensive to set up a store, especially if your SKU count's 10. The other way is a strategic, visionary shift of thinking that is harder than the other way.
Yeah, we're seeing agencies pop up that manage the brands, and perhaps that's exactly the reason why.
Yeah, I think another interesting point there is when we think about going from D2C to going to an Amazon platform, a lot of these D2C brands struggle with the fact that they don't actually have control over the customer data. And that's always a huge pain point for them because, you know, they're marketing through retargeting ads, through email marketing, all these different other channels that they're able to control through their own website and they have no access to through Amazon. So
what we have seen in the last year, and last year was a weird year in general, we converted a lot of people to FBM. We have seen a little more success with a D2C customer adding on FBM. It's not quite as of a move for them. And so we have seen that going on. Even if they kind of do a fakey FBA, but never really send stock and they keep it all FBM, they feel they have control, even though they don't have the person's email, they feel like they don't have to have the inventory in 10 different locations. Yeah. But that's been a little bit of an Amazon cheat that we've seen over the last little while. And it's why Walmart's sort of easy, because you don't have to send it to Walmart. We do a lot of Walmart drop ship. So I think that's why Walmart, for some of the brands, might be an easier kickoff if they're converting from D2C to a channel like that.
Awesome. All right, we have about 10, 15 minutes left. We have a lot of questions that people ask, so I want to try to ask some of them to both of you. The first one we've talked about a little bit, but how saturated is Walmart compared to selling on Amazon?
Ooh,
I think there's a Walmart stat out there that says that you will get, I'm trying to throw my numbers out there. I think it's like 31% more visibility on Walmart just because of the number of, sellers compared to the customer base. What's great about Walmart is that they come with their core customers already, right? And then plus the marketplace shopping. And so there's a lot, we've talked about it all day long here, right? It's like a white canvas. It's just an opportunity waiting.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, for sure. A lot less competition, a lot easier to get your products out there in front of people. Mm-hmm. Conversion rates probably aren't as good as Amazon, but that's a different story. Saturation is not a problem on the Walmart platform. Another interesting question that I know has gotten a lot of attention, I think, over the last year or so is Walmart fulfillment services, essentially the FBA equivalent. A lot of people ask, how does it work? How do they get into Walmart fulfillment services? Ted, I don't know if you have any experience on that front right now.
Yeah, not too much. I mean, I think I know where it's heading. I could be wrong, and maybe I am. I think every single Walmart store is going to eventually be a distribution center, right? Especially for the brands that are there. So it's early. They're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to do it. They have all the money in the world to be able to set things up or to acquire or to merge or whatever they need to do. But it surely isn't happening as much as just being on the platform. So not a ton of experience, because I don't think anybody has a ton of experience doing it. If it's happening in volume, we would obviously be doing it, but really not that much, to tell you the truth. It's not a high percentage of our Walmart business is going that way.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. The clients that we've tried to get into Walmart fulfillment services actually haven't been accepted into the platform. So they're still continuing to do well on the sales front, not using that service. So I don't think it's a necessity to be selling on the Amazon or on the Walmart platform as it is to be using FBA when you're selling on Amazon.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Next question, what are some Walmart advertising strategies? So I'll just go into this kind of quickly and give you an overview of it. We talked about some of the complexities of advertising on Walmart. Your products primarily need to be in the top 128 spots. Your product categorization is also extremely important, because if your products are not categorized correctly, or if you did the setup wrong and you have a category that exists in Amazon, doesn't exist in Walmart, you can create another issue there. So if you're not categorized correctly, you're not going to get pretty much any traffic on your ads. Now, when it comes to the actual advertising itself, you have automatic and manual campaigns. Automatic campaigns are going to get you way more impressions, way more visibility. The placements are going to be across the in search and the buy box ads. So you're going to get a lot more placements than you're going to get with the manual keyword searches, because the manual keyword searches, again, it has that same 128 rule. You may be in the top 128 for some keywords, not for other keywords. So you're going to run into some issues there. What I recommend doing is starting with the auto campaigns, then switching over to manual. And separating your campaigns out into your match types. So I would separate one campaign out for a broad match, one for phrase, one for exact, using the same keywords that you discovered in the auto side. On that way, I would also look at creating another campaign on the manual side for branded search terms that you have, another one for keywords that you may be taking from other platforms, like your advertising data on Amazon, taking the keyword searches and the results you have there and trying them into another manual campaign. And I always recommend setting your campaigns up with one product, one ad group per campaign, because I think that's going to get you the best results on the platform. When you start, combining things, I think things get a little too hairy. The advertising data gets a little off. So I think that's the best way to kind of go forward with that. And then the other thing you need to consider about when you're advertising is that there is campaign and daily budget minimums. They have a $1,000 per campaign minimum and $100 per day minimum per campaign. Just because you have those minimums does not mean you're going to hit them. The traffic is just not as high. The impressions you're going to get on the manual side is not the same you're going to get on the automatic side. So, and because of the restrictions on your placement within the search, it's really going to affect the impressions you're getting on the keyword. And again, we talked about first price auction. Don't go crazy on your bids to start. Start small, work up, and then see how your data for each keyword is improving over time. If you try to blow your advertising out of the park, it's not Amazon. You don't set a $3 bid on an automatic campaign, hoping to get as many impressions as possible and paying way less than that. You set a $3 bid, you're going to be paying $3 per click no matter what. So your budget's going to be gone extremely quickly. And that's another big thing to consider when you're setting up your advertising side. All right. Next question. Again, this is kind of about fulfillment. And we kind of covered this one actually, so I think I'll just skip over it. What can we do? The next one, what can we do to increase conversions? And I think this kind of goes back to the content, the setup, the product attributes. So maybe Pauline, you can tell us a little bit more about how to increase conversions from that standpoint.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what we haven't touched on yet on Walmart. So give me a second. I know we covered off on obviously the pricing, the right attributes, organic traffic, advertising, fulfillment, inventory. Trying to pull something else out of here. I'm gonna have to say I'm not sure beyond that. That's a pretty comprehensive list. Again, it all just goes back to the ODR, right? Make sure that you're not going out of stock really is key, and that you're fulfilling and creating good experiences. Yeah. In that regard, I guess the one thing we didn't really go into are reviews. Mm-hmm. Same way that they're impactful on Amazon, it's gonna be really important to pursue the reviews on Walmart too. It's not quite as big a part of the consumer experience, but we know it matters, and we know they're looking at it, and we know that the consumers are too.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. It's the social proof you have from other customers buying the product is going to help you increase conversions. And another interesting fact about it is that you can filter a little bit differently on Walmart than you can on Amazon. So you can actually filter by highest rated products instead, and your product can show up if you have a lot of reviews. So even though you may not be getting the organic indexing you want just on the best match filter, customer searching by highest rated can actually find your product pretty easily. So that's another great way to increase conversions at a pretty low cost, just getting your customers to leave good reviews for you. So I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Ted, do you think shipping speeds has an impact on conversion rates in the platform or no?
No, it does, but I think whether you're charging shipping or not plays a bigger part of it. From a abandoned cart conversion piece, I think by the time they get there, they may not have figured out if they're paying for freight or how long it's going to take to get there. The messaging is probably pretty clear early when it's like 2-day shipping across the country or 5-day shipping. My personal opinion is I don't know if it impacts conversion at the end unless you're charging for it. Like all of a sudden you throw them a $4.99 freight or a $6.99 freight. Yes, that will change conversion. I don't know if time does right now because of this, the world we're living in. I think that people are responding well to, hey, standard shipping is 3 to 5 days. Do you want to pay $5 to expedite it? I think that's a tool people are using to actually make a little more money and to subsidize the freight a little bit. But I'm sure it has an impact on it. I don't think it's as much as price or availability or rating. I think those are probably better indicators of conversion rate and not leaving carts abandoned.
Okay, awesome. The next question we have is more about the types of products that do well on the Walmart platform. The question they had was specifically about food, but in general, what products have you seen, or what product categories have you seen performing the best on Walmart in your experience?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a good one. I think it has a lot to do with price point. I think, I like things that are at least $20, right? Just from by the way, back to margin discussion a little bit. Like you don't make money selling something for $9.99 on Walmart or Amazon or anybody. So we do a lot of bundling because you've got to take a $9 product and make it a $30 sellable thing. So, I think there's people that know more than I do about what's that sweet spot. Is it $39 to $59? When you get to $89, you really need to have something of great value. I like, well, as any fulfillment person likes, I like runners. I like supplements that move really fast. And I think supplements do well on Walmart. I think home goods do well on Walmart, not toilet paper, but, soaps and hair care and personal items, I think do well. Again, there's no urgency for delivery. They're not buying a food item that they want to make for dinner tonight. So, I sort of like those things that are, and I think Walmart people do as well, like, small, convenient, going to get there quick. Even if it's going to be USPS first class, it's going to get there most of the time. So I think there's a price point that impacts it more than most, but that's just I'm not in your guys' world as deeply as you guys are.
No, I think that's definitely spot on, Ted. Some of the strategies that our brands have used is being able to sell different items, still under their umbrella, but across the different platforms. So let's just say they're like this season Prime products are selling on Amazon. They take maybe some of the last year's leftovers, sell it on a different platform, take some of the ones that are maybe didn't quite pass QC, put them on another, yada, yada. They open up a web store. And so depending on the channel, you can figure out what's the right market. Agreed on price point for Walmart. The other thing I'll say is, I think there's a chance, because we talked about the opportunity, to see where there is just so much saturation on Amazon, but that's lacking on Walmart, and get into those product categories. Establish yourself, do the research, it'll be worth it.
What I think and I think that's where you guys really, especially Mike, where you guys come into play. At the end of the day, people like perceived value, and they like perceived deal, sale. And it's probably the second one first, to tell you the truth. But they, if I see 14 walkie-talkies for $99, that is perceived value to me, right? Whether it's on sale, whether it's got good reviews, I think there's still marketing 101 is perceived value, perceived deal, and never underestimate the value of putting something on sale without violating pricing across different channels. So I think things that have value, perceived value and real value on Walmart tend to do very, very, very well, because those customers really appreciate value. It's been a model for Walmart since Sam started that store however long ago. They always have perceived value.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think the bundles, getting price breaks based on the number of units they're buying, the actual marketing features you have for price discounts and promotions are kind of limited on Walmart compared to what we have on the Amazon platform. But yeah, I think perceived value is a good way to look at that when you're selling your products on the platform. We're almost out of time. I'm just going to ask one last question. It's about customer service. So what level of interaction do you have with the customer on the Walmart platform compared to Amazon? I mean, obviously we know Amazon FBA, you're essentially handling, or FBA is handling the communications with you for the client. How is that different on the Walmart side?
I will say that it is an area where Walmart is aware that they are, they're staffing up for it. They have a similar ticketing system. The one example I'll give is like the brand registry, right? So on Amazon, they have like a system and a workflow for brand registry tickets, questions, whatever. They work through kind of what they need to get back to the seller about, what is their concern, how do they solve for it, la, 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 and then to affect the listing again. On the Walmart side, it's really exciting that they just kind of set up their own version of it. Right now, I see it more as a like tagged ticketing system. They will prioritize those tickets, but they don't quite have the workflows built out yet to really solve for the issue at hand. That being said, I know that they are ramping up on both staffing as well as taking another look at their processes to see where can they provide that better customer service to their sellers. The other thing, sorry, just to throw Zentail in here again, but it's that because we work so closely with Walmart, our sellers are able to get some of that prioritized service. If there's a problem with our sellers, we literally call our guy and we're like, yo, look at this ticket. And he's able to push that through the system. So that's really been helpful for our sellers, but I understand that's not everyone. I would say, keep monitoring those tickets, keep, letting your voice be heard.
Yeah, I would say I think you need to be in closer communication on the Walmart platform than the Amazon platform with the end customer, especially if there's an issue. You're pretty much the one that needs to resolve it, except in the case of disputes. But that's probably the main difference, I think, on the customer service side between the two platforms. With that question, I think we're kind of going to wrap it up here. Pauline, Ted, I appreciate having both of you on. Just start off, Pauline, if people want to learn more, get in contact with you, what is the best way to do that?
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, they can head over to Zentail.com. They can also shoot us an email over at hello@Zentail.com. We would be happy to talk to anyone looking to sell on Amazon, Walmart, anything going multi-channel.
Ted, same question to you.
I'm happy to give out my direct email. It's ted@shipcalm.com, and you can also email sales@shipcalm.com, and we're happy to connect and share strategy. Even whether you're become customers or not, we're happy to talk through what we know and share it out to the industry. And we've got a great tech team here, and happy to connect and share and see how we can help everybody.
Yeah, I think we're all willing to help anyone that has more questions on the Walmart platform. So if you have any more doubts, just feel free to reach out. Thank you both again for being here today. I really hope the audience found it helpful as well. And hopefully we can find another topic to talk about sometime.
Awesome. That was fun, guys.
Would love to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye,
All right,
everybody.
bye.